You're listening to a podcast from thespoilist.com. Cyberspace, the new frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast First Contact. Its mission? To explore every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. To seek out new viewers and have new conversations. To boldly view what many have viewed before. Welcome to First Contact, a Star Trek The Next Generation intro cast, where two Star Trek veterans guide a newcomer through the murky world of early episodes of TNG. I'm Andrew.
I'm James.
And I'm Alex.
This time we're looking at Lonely Among Us, which has a teleplay by DC Fontana from story by Michael Halpern, directed by Cliff Bole. It first aired on the week of November 2nd, 1987. James, what the hell happens in this episode?
The Enterprise is transporting two sets of comedy aliens to the subtly named conflict resolution planet, Parliament, when it encounters a wobbly thing in space. This cloud is home to energy-based lifeforms, and one possesses various crew members, causing weird things to happen. So Data takes on the role of Sherlock Holmes after an offhand comment from Picard. The alien family bonds with Picard, who orders the ship back to the cloud, where he beams out into space without a body. But don't worry, a magic transporter makes everything better. And I completely forgot that awful ending.
So, Alex, you've never seen this before. Was it as good as that synopsis makes it sound?
Yeah, I mean, there's various problems, aren't there? I mean, the aliens, as you say, that bad ending, all manner of things in it. But I think the biggest crime of the episode is it's just dull, really. You're sitting there looking at your watch, waiting for the thing to come to an end. Tediously grind to some kind of resolution, and it's not even satisfying when it does so.
This is very much a bottle show. It's a bit of a budget saver. There's not too much of a guest cast other than the aliens. They are trying to join the Federation, and they're being taken to this planet, which sounds actually like quite an interesting idea, a planet where everyone goes to have their conflicts resolved, but of course we don't get to see any of that. What did you make of these aliens? Did you think they seem like the type that should be joining the Federation?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the makeup and costume job, because that was terrible. I mean, that was really awful. It was like something out the 60s version of the show. And to be honest, an awful lot of this episode felt like that at times. But the main problem I had was, why were they there? What was the reason? It was a totally separate plot that really had no hold over the episode as a whole. It just filled out a bit of time. And it's played for laughs. But the problem with playing it for laughs is they've killed each other. Oh well, never mind. Riker, you deal with it. I'm going for a lie down. Great.
That ending is incredible. There's been a murder on board, and it does seem to be almost like a let's all grin at the camera freeze frame moment. It's so out of place.
There's been a murder. They're asking the chef to cook the victim. That's pretty dark in a way, but oh no, it's a rubber-headed man. No one cares.
Well, interestingly enough, the original story on which the teleplay was based did not actually contain these aliens. It was originally meant to be the ship breaking down due to a dilithium crystal problem. I don't know if that would have helped any, but it didn't seem there was much point in having these aliens here who seem to just pop up at random moments just to annoy everybody.
Yeah, I mean, what was their function? Popping up at random moments, playing for laughs but not really getting any, and more or less taking Tasha Yar out of the episode as she's left on babysitting duty. Now you stop them killing each other. Oh, all right.
Well, away from them, they are pretty much the most B-plot of B-plots that you can get. We have this energy cloud that they pass by. I suppose that's a pretty standard science fiction concept. You have energy beings living inside this cloud, but they don't really do anything original with it, or really anything that makes sense at all.
It's also perhaps a bad thing that it wasn't that long ago that we had The Naked Now. And what was that episode? That was crew members acting out of sorts. Now, I know it's for different reasons, and in fact we've had it in other episodes since then as well. And we've got different reasons for it here, but it's the same thing again. It's possession, that's all. It's not great. And no one notices that anyone's a little odd. No one notices that Dr. Crusher, yes, it's on the bridge. Well, that's not weird. But then again, perhaps they wouldn't notice because there's some shockingly awful dialogue in this that makes the crew out to be a total bunch of cretins. I mean, my favourite one being Crusher to Worf saying about, what about your memory lapse? And him saying, I still don't remember having one. Is that meant to be funny? Because it's just terrible. Awful.
I took that line as being supposed to be funny, but you never can tell. I'm not sure the cast were fully invested in this episode either. And as you mentioned, it does very much rely on them acting, I wouldn't say out of character, because I'm not going so far as to say that they have characters particularly as yet, but Dr. Crusher in particular is carrying the stupid ball here, where, she just suddenly appears on the bridge as far as she's concerned, having been down in sickbay doing what she's doing. And she doesn't really question that or mention that to anyone. Being a doctor, she doesn't think a big gap in time is anything worth saying, especially when you're out in deep space where weird things are happening.
And then she's got that conversation with Wesley later on, and it's, honestly, Wes, I don't remember doing this. Well, link the two things together. See a pattern? No, right, okay, never mind. Back to the comedy aliens then.
Talking of seeing a pattern, we have Data. He's decided to be Sherlock Holmes for the episode, which doesn't really fit.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, that's the best thing about the episode. But it again, it seems like something that's tacked on. I can live with it more than the other plot, though. I mean, they're at least trying to tie it in. He's trying to work out what's going on, why it's happening. Perhaps not the best story to tie that to, though, because it's pretty bloody obvious. It's not like it's a mystery, particularly. We've gone in a big cloud and suddenly everyone's acting out of sorts. Doesn't take the world's greatest consulting detective, to be honest.
I think that's the real problem with the episode. The audience knows what's happening straight away. The Enterprise goes into this cloud and all the problems start happening, whereas Data and the rest of the crew still think it could be these aliens. If it was made a little bit more subtle, maybe the aliens could have worked. They could have initially, the audience could have also thought, along with the crew, that they're causing the problems in the ship.
Yeah, that probably would have helped things greatly, actually. Yeah.
It's not really a great script overall, and it is incredibly forgettable. It has not been long since I watched this episode, and I'm really struggling to come up with anything whatsoever to say about it. And I took notes.
Yeah, it is so perfunctory that there's so little to say. As I say, the best part is Data as Sherlock Holmes. And even then I can't really work out why that's enjoyable.
I think the thing is, if this was a later Next Generation episode, they would have tied down the characters better, and there would have been character moments in the episode that would have made it at least vaguely memorable. Because there's episodes like this in Later Next Generation, and in Voyager, and in Deep Space Nine, and in the original series, and in Enterprise, that, they're just pretty boring, straightforward sci-fi plots with rubbish endings, but they've got character stuff in there to make it, vaguely watchable.
Yeah, and in a bottle episode, that's something that you really rely on. And I think that's what makes this such a dirge, to be honest.
Well, I suppose there are a couple of character moments. The one I found most notable was Worf getting something to do. He's working on the sensor array with Geordi because he's trying to get noticed by Picard. He's trying to work hard. I thought that was something reasonably nice in the early part of the episode.
Why is it that Geordi's always sent off to do the small little tasks out the way of everyone else? Do they have something against the blind? It's just he always seems to be sent below decks.
Wait, he's blind?
He is, he's blind.
I don't think so. Where'd you get that from?
Have they mentioned that in the show? Yes, that's news to me. We have another appearance from Chief Engineer Argyle, everybody's favourite character.
Yay!
I wrote into Paramount in 1987 because I thought he should be the lead chief engineer. I really wanted him to be a series regular.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet, but I sent a letter into Paramount. The handwriting did look a lot like the character's handwriting, but...
If we're going to talk about small characters, can we talk about Mr. Singh, who's meant to be a valued member of the team, who we've never seen before? He's such a good man, and his death is obviously a tragic event, but everyone seems to be quite happy just to forget about it very quickly once Data's got his pipe out.
You always know when there's this new character on the bridge who starts getting loads of lines, he's going to die sometime in this episode.
I don't even understand the logic of that, because the electricity, whatever it is, didn't kill anyone else. So why did he die, apart from the fact that obviously he's not a regular? What was the reason? And also for his comedy Deathfall, but why did he die? I genuinely do not understand why he died.
And why was engineering so empty when he did die? They've got the engines of the ship.
And why are the safety rails not adequate enough?
And actually, I know Data was investigating this, but surely this is a matter for the head of security.
No, she's busy with comedy aliens, sorting out their food.
She's the only one who could possibly have done that. Councillor Troy, she gets to do hypnosis, because clearly that's something that's really in the 24th century.
Yeah, it's a bizarre sort of return to mysticism, isn't it? But as soon as you bring in a psychic, then suddenly, well, psychic of sorts. I suppose that's the go-to thing. I have vague problems with that, in that it sort of eliminates a lot of tension sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the theme for this episode, isn't it? Oh, there was something there. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it was, yeah.
So, the ending, after going through many crew members, the alien finally decides to bond with Picard, who then beams out into space and become an energy creature for some reason.
And of course the ending gives the quote of the episode, P for Picard.
I mean, that's a tenuous association at best, really, isn't it? I mean, it could be anything. He could be talking about his favourite kind of sandwich spread. It could be P for Piccalilli. It could be an obscene message. P for... Oh dear. I never knew you felt that way.
He is putting a message on the screen of the Enterprise. Now, I assume these have letters on them, and given they are a screen, he could pretty much write whatever he wants to do, but he decides to spell out P using buttons.
Riddle me this. Obviously,
Riker is astute enough to be able to work out very difficult clues such as these.
Everyone seems so surprised as well. Oh, of course. Really?
But that using the transporter to bring back his supposedly gone body and making out that it is backup logs, that seems like an extremely cheap ending to me and a little bit magic. I wouldn't want the transporters to be the solution to all the problems in future episodes.
I watched that and I really... my attention was waning, to be honest, but I really didn't have a clue what was going on by that point. It just happened, and it was a case of, well, he's going to return soon. There he is. Next episode. Moving on.
Moving on to our quickfire round.
Quickfire.
The dress uniform, when they are meeting the comedy aliens for the first time, they are all wearing the dress uniform. Now, this uniform would remain in place until the very end of Voyager as the standard dress uniform. For me personally, it looks like somebody has read the word dress and thought they literally had to put the crew in dresses.
We've talked about the dresses in Next Generation before. There's an odd sentence, but they don't look good, do they? It looks odd. Not in the sense of men wearing dresses. They just look odd.
Another appearance for O'Brien, who appeared in the pilot.
Yes, as yet unnamed.
As yet unnamed? Okay, I didn't realise that.
We don't want to spoil it for everyone to know that he's going to be one of the most prolific people in Star Trek.
Well, I never said that.
Oh, sorry, I've spoiled it now for you, Alex.
I wasn't paying attention. Worf's possession is terrible. It's that long, lingering shot of him being electrocuted and going, "Ah!" before falling down on the floor. It's just... And Geordie's explanation of it later is just, well, he had a glow about him, as if he's been eating Ready Brek.
One of the comedy aliens is played by Mark Alemo, who will go on to play a number of aliens throughout Star Trek, most notably Gul Dukat in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
We've talked before about how there's a lot of Roddenberry in this series, and one thing that stood out for me in this episode was the whole thing with being vegetarians, and we don't eat meat as you know it anymore.
Just a quick question. What did you think of the direction of this episode?
Mediocre.
Well, Cliff Bole will go on to direct 24 more episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh,
and
Christ.
Also episodes of Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Oh, God.
But I actually think he does direct some fairly good episodes.
Oh, yes, he definitely does. He directs the best Next Generation episodes.
We can lay the blame firmly on the script for this one, I think. So that rounds up another exciting episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and we are in no way counting down the days until this first season is over. From me, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.